A dark night in August 1964. In the treacherous waters of the Gulf of Tonkin, off the coast of North Vietnam, an American warship, the USS Maddox, is on full alert. Suspicious blips appear on the radar screens. The commander shouts, "We are under torpedo attack." The ship's guns roar to life. Urgent signals are flashed back to Washington. And within hours, President Lyndon B. Johnson is addressing the nation on live television, paving the way for open war.
That night became the spark that ignited the Vietnam War, a war that would claim the lives of more than 58,000 American soldiers and over 3 million Vietnamese people. But here's the question that would haunt historians for the next 4 decades. Did that attack actually happen? 40 years later, when the U.S. National Security Agency finally unsealed its classified files, a shocking truth emerged. The night that was used to justify one of the most devastating wars in modern history was in fact built on a chain of misread signals, a chronological error, and quite possibly a deliberate distortion of the truth. Today, we're going to trace that story all the way back to the source.
The official account went like this. On August 2nd, 1964, the USS Maddox was conducting a routine intelligence gathering mission, codenamed a DeSoto Patrol, in international waters. Suddenly, 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats attacked. The Maddox returned fire. American aircraft rushed in to assist and damaged one of the enemy boats, and the U.S. suffered no casualties. This first encounter was real. There was no serious dispute about that. The real controversy centers on what allegedly happened 2 nights later, on August 4th. According to the official narrative, that night, the Maddox and a second destroyer, the USS Turner Joy, again came under attack from North Vietnamese boats. Sonar operators reported hearing torpedo sounds. Radar screens showed suspicious contacts. And for hours, the crews fired at what they believed was an enemy in the darkness.
That same night, President Johnson announced to the nation that American ships had been attacked again on the high seas and ordering retaliatory airstrikes against North Vietnamese targets. Days later, the U.S. Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution almost unanimously, a resolution that granted the president sweeping authority to use military force in Southeast Asia without a formal declaration of war. That single resolution would become the legal foundation for nearly a decade of American military involvement in Vietnam. On the surface, the story was simple. The enemy attacked, and America defended itself. But almost as soon as military officials began reviewing the details, strange inconsistencies started to surface.
The very first doubts came from the man who was actually there that night, Captain John Herrick, the on-scene commander. Almost immediately after the alleged attack, he sent a message back to Washington warning that freak weather effects and an overeager sonar man may have produced false sonar readings, and that no actual visual sightings of enemy vessels had been confirmed. He recommended a full evaluation before any further action was taken. This message mattered enormously because it came from the very person present at the alleged attack, questioning his own crew's reports within hours of the event. No torpedo wreckage was ever found. No sign of an enemy vessel. No bullet holes on the American ships. The night was pitch dark. The sea was stormy, and analysts later concluded that the torpedo tracks picked up on sonar may simply have been the echo of the ship's own propeller.
Despite this, Defense Secretary Robert McNamara assured Congress that the attack had unequivocally occurred.
The doubts raised by the men actually on the water were brushed aside. President Johnson himself reportedly remarked privately that, for all I know, our Navy was shooting at whales out there. A striking admission that even he suspected sonar readings of marine life may have been mistaken for enemy boats. This was the first real clue, a war's justification already unraveling in the minds of the very eyewitnesses who had reported it.
For the next 40 years, historians, journalists, and researchers tried to solve this mystery. But the real evidence, the National Security Agency's classified signals intelligence, or SIGINT reports, remained locked away. In 1968, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee launched its own investigation and found the available evidence incomplete and contradictory. Senator J. William Fulbright, who had originally championed the Tonkin Resolution in Congress, later became one of its harshest critics. In 1971, the release of the Pentagon Papers revealed that officials within the U.S. government had harbored serious doubts about the true nature of the war, doubts that had been carefully kept from the public.
Meanwhile, even inside the NSA, cracks were forming. Deputy Director Louis Tordella and CIA intelligence chief Ray Klein had privately concluded by the early 1970s that a mistake had likely been made. Staff on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee uncovered discrepancies of their own, but all of this remained buried for decades. The real breakthrough began in the early 2000s when NSA historian Robert J. Haniak was tasked with a full internal review of the agency's own historical record. Haniak combed through hundreds of raw intercepts, phone transcripts, and internal memos. What he found told a story that directly contradicted the official version of events.
The essence of Haniak's research was finally made public in 2005 and 2006 when the NSA declassified nearly 200 documents related to the incident. These documents revealed the core of the problem. NSA analysts had made a serious chronological error in piecing together intercepted North Vietnamese communications related to the events of August 4th. Messages that actually referred to the confirmed real attack from 2 nights earlier, on August 2nd, were mistakenly reassigned to the timeline of August 4th, and this flawed, reordered chronology was sent to Washington as proof of a second attack. On top of that, different intercept stations, most notably the Phu Bai station, were producing reports that conflicted with those coming from other stations, and those inconsistencies were simply ignored or filtered out. In 2007, the NSA's own official internal history of the Vietnam War went a step further, concluding definitively that no attack had actually occurred in the Gulf of Tonkin on August 4, 1964. In other words, the night that provided the justification for open American military intervention in Vietnam was, in reality, the product of misread radar and sonar data, violent weather, and an exhausted, hyper-alert crew primed to see an enemy that wasn't there. Even more troubling was Haniak's further conclusion. Some senior officials appear to have deliberately suppressed or distorted the conflicting reports in order to present Congress and the public with a clean, attack-based narrative, one that conveniently aligned with the Johnson administration's existing appetite for a more assertive American role in Vietnam. In other words, this wasn't simply an honest mistake. It was a mistake that, instead of being corrected, was allowed to serve a political purpose. The Gulf of Tonkin Incident is far more than a historical curiosity. It's a chilling case study in how incomplete information, institutional pressure, and political ambition can combine to send an entire nation down the wrong path.
The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, built on a vague and inaccurately reported event, handed the president sweeping powers that, over the following 9 years, drew the United States deeper and deeper into a war that took millions of lives and tore American society apart at home. By 1973, as the truth slowly began to surface, Congress itself moved to repeal the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. But by then, the damage was already done.
This story leaves us with a sobering lesson. Decisions about war are often made not on the basis of complete facts, but on fear, pressure, and partial information. And powerful institutions, when they need a particular narrative, are not always willing to let inconvenient doubts get in the way. The story of the Gulf of Tonkin is a reminder that history should never be taken at face value from official statements alone. It needs to be questioned, cross-examined against the documents, and reevaluated in light of truths that sometimes only surface decades later. Today, as we watch conflicts and wartime narratives unfold around the world in real time, the lesson of the Gulf of Tonkin feels more urgent than ever. No clear-cut incident is ever quite as clear as it first appears, and the real truth of history is often buried for years.